Board for Tuesday, July 1st is now come to order. Please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Graham, roll call, please.
Yes. Ms. Schellenberger? Here. Mr. Kraus?
Here.
Ms. Ware?
Here.
Mr. Stadelman? He's on Zoom.
I am on Zoom.
He's here.
Zoom.
Yes. Mr. Carano?
Here.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Trinkle? Here. Mr. Brugan?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 3rd, 2025?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 25th.
3rd.
June 3rd?
June 3rd, thank you.
Okay. I have a first. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Announcements. As of July 1st, 2025, Mr. Paul Duvall has tendered his resignation from the Natural Resources Board. As such, alternate Frank Trinkle will be voting his stead during tonight's meeting. As noted during roll calls, Mr. Charles Stadelman will be attending via Zoom as he is able. And as such, Deborah Schellenberger will be voting in his stead during tonight's meeting. Do we have any other announcements? Okay. Moving on to item number, 5, gentlemen. Item B, Coastal Connections presentation.
I'm very pleased tonight that we have some representatives of Coastal Connections here to give you a little presentation on the Vero Goes Zero program. Please.
Wonderful. Thank you all, and thank you for the invitation to speak tonight on our sustainability initiative at Coastal Connections. We're a 501c3 that you're going to learn quite a lot about in just a moment. My name is Kendra Bergman, the founder and executive director, and I'm very excited to present our other team members who are going to be the ones talking to you today about these incredible programs that are helping Sebastian become more sustainable, as well as our entire county. So please let me introduce Olivia Redding and Gina Kent.
Hi, everyone. So, as Kendra mentioned, we're Coastal Connections. Our mission is to advance sea turtle survival by educating and connecting people to the environment. And our vision is a community where sea turtles and humans thrive, one connection at a time. So I'm going to briefly go through our sea turtles of Florida. While this presentation isn't really about sea turtles, it's the way that we strive to meet our mission by protecting sea turtles. So we have our greens, our leatherbacks, and our loggerheads that we see here in Indian River County and throughout Florida. So sea turtles face a lot of threats. As you can see on the board or on your screens, there's a multitude of threats that they face here as well as globally. And the biggest one that we are focusing on today is marine debris. So marine debris is any man-made solid material that ends up in the ocean, seas, or other large bodies of water. And sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In this kind of circumstance that we're discussing today, it's protecting our lagoon and our beaches for future generations to enjoy in the same beauty that we enjoy them now.
So this is why Coastal Connections established a sustainability initiative that encompasses several different sustainability programs. Each of these programs play a vital role in either removing debris from the environment or preventing it from entering the environment to begin with, all with the goal of protecting sea turtles and preserving our coastal ecosystems. So one of the main threats to sea turtles is single-use plastics. As you can see on the screen, a hungry sea turtle can very easily mistake a floating plastic bag in the ocean for some species' main food source, which is jellyfish. So Coastal Connections developed a wrap recycling program. We've partnered with Indian River County to offer a free wrap recycling program for local businesses. So we have a team of volunteers that visits these businesses on a weekly basis. They collect all of their wrap fill material. It is then transported to the landfill and recycled into plastic pellets, which is purchased by a company called Trex. Trex makes this material. It's a composite planking material that's turned into boardwalks, playground equipment, benches, and more. And since starting the program, we have recycled over 27,000 pounds of wrap recycling plastic, diverting it from the landfill, and we're definitely looking to expand that program up into the northern part of Indian River County and especially Sebastian.
So one of our other programs that focuses on marine debris is our fishing line recycling program. If any of you have been around mainland Sebastian or Sebastian Inlet State Park, you may have seen our fishing line recycling tubes. But first, before I go into that, I want to talk about Vader. So Vader is a sea turtle that we found in the Indian River Lagoon, and he was dragging around 7 pounds of monofilament around, and it was wrapped around his neck, cutting off circulation, and actually partially flattened his trachea. And Vader was successfully healed at the Sea Turtle Healing Center up in Brevard, and we successfully released him, but there's definitely a need for monofilament fishing line recycling here in the county. So we revitalized this program starting in last year, so October 2024. We currently have 44 fishing line recycling tubes around the county, and we've recycled over 33 pounds of fishing line, which is equivalent to about 212 miles. So that stretches from here down to the Florida Keys. The bucket you see on your screen is actually all the monofilament we collected from the mainland Sebastian tubes last quarter, and that's a 3-month span. So fishing line has devastating impacts on local wildlife, as you saw with Vader, and if not disposed of properly, can lead to entanglement and strangulation, causing death or loss of limbs. And sea turtles are often hooked by anglers or swallow hooks, causing internal impacts. So it's important to educate our community about them as well. As you can see here, these are the 7 locations we have in mainland Sebastian. We actually have one right across the street at the Main Street Boat Ramp, as well as throughout Riverside Park, Riverview Park, Dale Wimbrow Park, Donald McDonald Park, a bunch of parks up in Sebastian, and we also have a bunch of them over in the Sebastian Inlet State Park as well.
So a main problem for not only sea turtles, but marine wildlife in general is trash and debris. There's all types of different, pieces of debris that we can find on beaches and coastal areas, including foam, plastic, and just general garbage. So Coastal Connections has created a coastal cleanups program. We host both private and public cleanups all throughout the year. Since starting the program, we have successfully collected over 28,000 pounds of debris from beaches and coastal areas. And we actually have a cleanup coming up this Saturday. It's going to be at JC Park in Vero Beach. The beaches are going to need a lot of attention after 4th of July festivities and fireworks. So if that's something that you'd be able to join, we would love to have you. If you would be interested in cleaning up the beach but aren't able to participate in any of our coastal cleanups, we have a beach basket program. So we have 28 beach basket stations throughout Indian River and Brevard counties. We currently have 4 state parks that are participating throughout the state of Florida. And there is a citizen scientist aspect of this. So as people are picking up beach baskets to clean up the beach as they're returning, they have the ability to scan a QR code on one of our signs and enter in specifics in regards to debris that's been collected. And we also have scales where they can weigh that debris and enter that information as well. These are pictures of the 7 beach basket stations that we currently have installed throughout Sebastian Inlet State Park. So you may be asking yourself, how can you practice sustainability? So we have this broken up into 3 different categories. So as a corporation, businesses integrating sustainability practices into their core strategy, focusing on creating long-term value for all stakeholders, including employees, suppliers, and the broader community. As an individual, you can recognize consumption patterns, transportation and energy usage, utilizing reusable products, all to reduce one's individual carbon footprint. And then as a local government, you can offer services or work with local partners to provide services that reduce, reuse, and recycle waste and clean up debris from within the community. You also have the opportunity to implement and enforce ordinances that support debris-free parks, beaches, and coastal areas. So what else can you do? The main thing that you can do is reduce your use of single-use plastics. That is one of the main goals of Vero Goes Zero, hence the name. So things like using reusable bags at the store instead of using plastic bags, skipping the straw, skipping plastic water bottles and using a reusable water bottle instead. And we would just take this opportunity to open it up for any questions you guys might have.
Anyone on the board have any questions?
Hello?
I
Can
would-
you hear me?
Go ahead,
Yes?
Charles.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Somebody else was speaking first.
I would just say that that's an excellent presentation.
Thank
That's
you.
really nice. But I do have a question. How effective are the fishing line collectors on the beach?
They are very effective. We have had some instances with contamination just from trash that people put in the tubes, but we have noticed a lot less marine or monofilament line within our environment. People are utilizing these tubes, both beachside and lagoon side, to recycle their fishing line. And as I said, we've recycled over 33 pounds since we started the program just under a year ago.
They're very easily seen, which is really excellent.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
they're very brightly colored now.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, so I'm working especially with reducing recycling and all with the businesses here in
Yes.
Sebastian. So I have a question about your bags that you were talking about. Is it just the bags that you go to businesses, or is it other plastic films that you collect?
It's all types of plastic films, but any that can be, it's essentially any plastic film that can be stretched with your finger. So the really crinkly plastic like cellophane we cannot recycle, but beyond that there's several different types of plastic wrap that can be recycled through that program.
And how often do you pick this up at the businesses?
Well, we have different schedules depending on the business. We have some businesses that are picked up 3 times a week. We have some that are picked up every week, or some that are just even on demand. So we really try to make it as simple and easy for everybody involved as possible. So generally we're willing to do whatever is necessary so that that business can participate.
And do you have these flyers made up for the businesses to educate them?
We do, yeah. We even have a training video. So we go out and part of an onboarding process. We do, train the staff. But then if there's turnover, we're welcome to come in and do another training session, or we have a video that they can watch, even as a refresher course. We have quick reference guides that they can, just laminated cards that they can put where all of their plastic film is being sorted. So yeah, we do have ways that we train staff and managers, or even incoming staff as well.
Thank you. And have you come up with a way to tell the businesses that there's actually saving money somehow with this? Or, because the trash is reduced,
Yeah.
I guess.
Not particularly saving money. It's more the point of this plastic film cannot be recycled through traditional measures. And again, this program is completely free, and we really do try to make it as simple for them as possible. So really, it's just showing the amount that they've been able to divert from the landfill. We even have recognition tiers now. So, businesses are really excited to be part of it, because once they've reached certain milestones, they're getting additional recognition as well. But we have little cards that we update at the end of every month that shows how much they've contributed to the program, and they just love seeing that number increase. So
Do you need a certain number of businesses in Sebastian to participate?
we don't, but we would love any that we could add. We're currently at 52 active businesses within the county, but we are looking to expand, like I said, but there is no minimum number. Whoever would be interested, we would love to talk to them.
Great. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
of course.
just curious, is it private businesses and more like commercial chains or just anything?
All
Any
of
and
the
all?
above.
Okay.
We actually have several businesses in the Vero Beach outlets, which is amazing. And they're even really competitive with each other, which is really awesome too. We have some businesses that have individually, they've individually contributed over 5,000 pounds of plastic to the program. We have several within the outlets that have done over 2,500 or over 1,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it's both. It's all the above.
And just to kind of follow up on the business route, do you guys have any experience with restaurants or have done outreach with restaurants? Because an issue that I notice is a lot of waterfront restaurants using plastic straws, plastic disposable cups, and those inevitably wind up on the shoreline.
Yeah, we do like to educate about plastic alternatives. We do have a plastic alternatives guide. Unfortunately, we did try to incorporate this program with restaurants, but there's so much food contamination that we weren't able to incorporate it in the wrap recycling program, hence why we really tried to work more on the education side and plastic alternatives versus the recycling of their wrap plastic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
If I may, just real quick, briefly, this is recorded and it's on, online, and people watch these meetings after the fact. Do you have a website or a contact number that you can leave there so that if somebody sees this and wants to contact you, they can?
We do. Our website is coastal-connections.org. You can reach us at info@coastal-connections.org. That's our email address. Sad to say I don't have our phone numbers. 772-226-0133. I hope you got that. Sorry.
So my question is, when you went to the businesses and stuff, do you provide a container for them to put all the plastics in and stuff like that?
We provide them with clear sacks.
Clear sack, okay.
Just to avoid any potential concealment of any kind. I know that there's been some questions, that have been brought up from businesses in regards to any concealment by employees or anything of that matter. But yeah, and it's also, we do plastic bags so that we can easily kind of glance through and see, does all this material look like it's recyclable? But generally, we also have some of the pack and wrap stands that can also be used, but generally it would just be a giant clear plastic bag that they can use.
Charles, did you want to jump in?
Yes. Thank you very much, Coastal Connections, for accepting the invitation to come out tonight. I truly would there. I am on the road at the moment, but I knew not to miss this meeting. For everything that I saw with you guys, I'd like to thank you for everything that you do. Normally I'd be sitting up there, and I was hoping that the rest of the board would take a look at this and realize we had an organization we're sponsored with in our Litter Quitter program, and I think this Coastal Connections may fill that void. And my question to Coastal Connections was, do you have city sponsors?
Of course, yes, and thank you for having us. It would depend on the program regarding what sponsorships you might be referring to, and I'm sorry, it cut out a little bit, so I'm not sure if I heard the full scope of the question. But, depending on if it's a beach basket program, we do have some government affiliates for the beach basket program. Again, for the wrap recycling, we've partnered with the county to ensure that that's all stored and recycled properly.
Well, we had a Litter Quitter program, which you're supposed to doing with what they were doing, and we have a mandate called Sustainable Sebastian. And we had an organization similar to yours out of Melbourne that basically was doing what you were doing, and except they were out of Melbourne, except that they didn't get funded, so they're just not with us anymore. And I've seen what you were doing and everything with the cleanups and the collection of the single-use plastics, and I'd like to thank Felicia for coordinating all this as well. And I would think you would be a good fit for the city of Sebastian and our Sustainable Sebastian program.
We think so as well. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any more
And
questions?
that's all I have.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much. It was
Of course.
excellent.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6, agenda modifications. Felicia, any agenda modifications?
There is one small agenda modification. We are going to be adjusting item 9, new business. Items A2 and A3, we're just going to switch the order of those to keep it in chronological order. So we'll be addressing the International Coastal Cleanup immediately following Touch and Tour, and then we'll address Kids Fest last.
Okay. Number 7, public input. Is there anybody on Zoom who wants to talk?
No one has raised their hands at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to unfinished business. Item A, Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup, Saturday, July 26th, 2025. Felicia?
Thank you. All right, so as you know, the Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup is going to be coming up relatively quickly. It is Saturday, July 26th. The full week of the cleanup, in which participants are welcome to join, is July 19th through July 27th. So there may be virtual participants who will be coming in and helping to clean up our waterways prior to the main event. But for the main event itself, the NRB is to host the Main Street Boat Ramp site. That's the Captain Robert Hardy Main Street Boat Ramp. In your agenda packet, you will find your assignment schedule. It's blank, and we'll discuss what time slots everyone may be able to attend. If you're able to attend for the full event, I know we loosely discussed it at the previous meeting, but at this point, I'd like to lock in whoever is able to be there and at what times. Just to kind of go over who I do have, and please correct me if anything has changed or if I've been misinformed. But I have Laura, Tom, Donna, Matt, and Charles as attending, and then Dan, you said you would like to do it virtually, so you'll probably be participating with some of the other folks during the week.
That's
Okay.
still the
Is
same
that-
for me. Oh,
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll be there the entire time.
okay.
I'll
Anyone?
confirm that.
Anyone else have any particular time frame preferences? Will you be able to be there for the whole thing?
Charles will be there 2 hours before and 2 hours after.
I prefer the morning, the earlier part, so I would be happy to do like 7 to 9.
And if I have a choice, I'd prefer something like 9 to 11.
Okay.
What is the total time on that? When does it start? When does it end?
So the event itself starts at 8 a.m. and will end at 12:30 p.m. I will need some assistance prior to the event around 7 a.m. or 7:30 with setup, and then of course tear down at the very end.
You can put me down for whatever's the short, you have a shortage.
Okay, thank you. And I will send out a revised copy of this before the event so that way everyone knows what their time slots are.
I can do like 10 a.m. to finish.
Right. Anybody else have any input on time slots for the day of the event?
And Felicia, the brochure is on the website, right? The Natural Resources Board website?
The flyer itself, I don't believe is up on the website, but it has the site-specific flyer has been posted to our social media, and there is also a Facebook event that folks can refer back to that's been posted by the Marine Industries Association of the Treasure Coast that has all the information. But if anyone needs, they need to register at www.tcwaterwaycleanup.com and Speaking of which, I will need the board members who are going to be present for the day of the event to register online. So that way, if you would like a t-shirt for yourselves, but also make sure you have all the associated paperwork filled out for Marine Industries Association.
I was actually going to ask you that, and I was going to ask you about the online service because I forget what it looks like. But thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so for anyone who is participating virtually, typically there is a supply pickup in the week prior to the event. So Dan, in your case, once you register, they know that you're coming. They will set aside supplies for you that they'll bring to City Hall. Staff will make sure that it's set aside properly so that way it can be distributed. And then the remainder of the supplies that is meant specifically for the day of the event, staff will bring to the event. Now, full disclosure, I will be out of town for a little bit of time for about a week and a half or so leading up to the event. I will be here working the day before the event and of course the day of the event. But if there's anything that you all need, I can put you in contact with my team and whoever will be helping with supply distribution while I'm out.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Felicia? Is that it?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Item B, Sustainable Sebastian.
All right. So for Sustainable Sebastian tonight, my goal is to kind of go over some of the updates. So far, we'll bring back some of the discussion points from the last meeting that we touched on briefly. And then there are some discussion items that I'm sure the board members will be interested in getting to, and we can touch on that as we go through each. So to start off with this, the overall reduction of single-use plastics, I have been myself and my director, Alex Bernard, have been in discussion with Charles regarding item 1B, developing a resolution to solidify City of Sebastian's commitment to the reduction of single-use plastics, and he has submitted a draft of a possible resolution to staff. We are currently working on tinkering with the draft, and once I've completed with my draft of his draft, then I'll present that to Alex. We'll go over it and we'll bring that up the chain as needed. All right, any input from Charles to supplement?
Thank you very much, Felicia. Most of the resolution ties into what local municipalities are already doing, so I'm hoping that it passes the board and passes muster with City Council. And I think it's a great step forward to wanting to do with single-use plastics without doing an outright ban or ordinance. I'd also like to say real quick that the audio video is just fantastic. I should be able to, I could really hear you guys just really good, just to let you know. So thanks guys for doing such a great job. That's all I got.
All right. The next one that I have an update for is Goal 3, and of course that really pertains to the Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup, which is coming up, as we just discussed, and it is also worth keeping in mind that later in tonight's meeting, we will be discussing the potential participation in the International Coastal Cleanup, which is hosted by our friends at Coastal Connections. All right, for supporting landscaping practices, there are a few items to discuss. As part of the potential for reviving the Champion Tree program, I do have in front of me a few documents that we can touch base on and kind of discuss what some of those parameters were. There were 2 resolutions that were initially developed for the Champion Tree program. The only main difference between these 2 resolutions was the fact that the initial resolution was developed under the Tree and Landscape Advisory Board, and then the second resolution in 2008 was when the board was after the board became the Natural Resources Board. So that was the main change in the resolutions at that time. Both of the resolutions to develop the Champion Tree program were based on the standards developed by the state for the Florida Champion Tree program. eligibility included certain specifications for the type of trunk of the trees, the certain height of the tree, and the defined crown of the tree itself. There are particular procedures and measurements that they had for measuring the trees, and special calculations for the trees themselves. And I believe the last time that a tree was accounted for as part of Sebastian's champion tree program was in 2011. So it's been quite a number of years since there was a champion tree declared. As part of this program, each time a new tree was found of a certain species that was to become the new champion tree, if there was a tree of that species that was previously declared the champion, it was bumped down to oh goodness, what is the emeritus? I believe that is the word, status for that tree. And so that is kind of something that we may want to consider, is if we want to move forward with the same style of program, is that there would be trees that are bumping down the previous champions into emeritus status. Would we consider more of a heritage tree style program where we would be awarding recognition for all trees of great stature, regardless of who was the previous champion before, but then we could also have it as like a layered program. Thoughts to consider, food for thought at this point, but I would be interested to hear what the board's take on this, and if anyone wants to see the Florida tree standards or the Florida champion tree program standards that I've mentioned, I'd be happy to send that to you.
I just have a quick question. Where are they recognized? On the city website? I mean, are they given a plaque? What kind of recognition?
So from what I understand, I don't know if there was a plaque given, but they were nominated before city council for recognition, and then they were proclaimed. So there was an official city council proclamation that was held for each of the trees. And so each time that a new one would come up, it would be brought before city council as a part of the agenda transmittals.
And do you know about how many of them there are in the city?
The exact number, I'm not sure. If I could count quick enough, I would tell you. I do have the list in front of me. There are a few different species of oak, some now granted, this list that I also have in front of me, as we mentioned last time, has some native and some non-native. And that is also another part of the discussion, is do we want to include those or not? But we have, what I'm looking at right now are laurel oaks, grapefruit, cypress, hickory, magnolia, slash pine, Canary Island palm, loquat, pindo palm, Bismarck palms, river birch, pandanus palm, or the screw palm, red maple, and pigeon plum.
So I'm looking at a similar list that you have. I think you have a few extra on your list. Mine's about 21 trees. So you might have like closer to 25. But I personally feel like we should stick with native trees. That's my thought on it. I think because this list is also over 10 years old, so once we start to get back into the program, it might be a little overwhelming with how many trees have grown since then and how many new ones that we're going to add to the list. So that would be my vote. And then it would really try to encourage homeowners to plant more native trees.
I totally agree with Laura.
I agree with that.
I definitely think it should just be native trees.
And I like the emeritus. That from a language standpoint, kind of keeps the same status, even though it's a following year. So a tree that is a champion emeritus still gets this kind of recognition, doesn't really reduce it.
Yeah, we don't want to leave any trees out, right? If they deserve recognition.
See, I think personally, any tree that makes the height, the diameter, that's a very old tree, should be recognized whether it's native or not native. It still has the same ecological importance as the native trees.
Now, I think maybe that's also an important point of distinction. So let's say we're talking about a tree that is naturalized, it's not native to the state, but it is something that maybe does have a positive ecological function, is not known to be invasive, and maybe also serves another purpose, you know, something of crop-related usage. Is that something that the board would also be willing to consider? And I can see that Mr. Trinkle, that is something that's right up his alley. So if that's something, like I said, or we don't have to set this in stone right now, but this is really something for us to really consider as we start to move forward.
Why don't you send us the information you have, and we can put this on the agenda for next month?
Yeah, just to say that, yeah, you kind of mentioned that, but actually, I'm in favor of, I think that, you know, native trees that have been here forever should probably be the ones that are most, otherwise the list just gets crazy. But I think the original native trees that are still maintaining themselves should be the ones that should be in contention.
Okay, please, you want to continue?
Yes. All righty. As part of Goal 5 for continuing our education on Florida-friendly principles, Laura and I have discussed potential outreach materials for the fertilizer ordinances, which the fertilizer ordinance regarding the summer season, the wet season is currently underway, and we're very fortunate that our social media, our outreach, and excuse me, I'm messing up her title, our communications and social media coordinator put out a video earlier in May, just before the rainy season began, regarding the ordinance. So that is a step in the right direction. We're very excited about that, and it has, I think it was, what, over 8,000 views it was. So that's a really good sign that people are paying attention, and people, you know, the fact that the social media has gained so much ground in the past several months, that this is a really great way of disseminating this sort of information. I have run Laura's draft of this potential infographic to my director and awaiting her response and any input that she might have regarding what should be disseminated. So I will keep you posted.
It's basically an infographic. It's a visual of how fertilizer application would affect, you know, waterways and the environment and how it enter. So for anyone that's not an auditory learner, a visual might help, especially for those people that aren't familiar with it, have just moved here, and are not accustomed to Florida seasons and whatnot. So hopefully we can get it out. I know we're already, you know, a month into the season, but.
Yeah, I think it is still beneficial, even though we are a month into the season, that if we keep sharing this information and keep sending out reminders to folks saying, hey, remember, this ordinance is in place, remember that this still applies, you know, regardless of the time of year, really. And I think that's something that once people are educated about that, they'll start paying attention all year round. But during this season, I think sprinkling in those little reminders will be particularly helpful. Mm-hmm. And my next update for landscaping is in regards to ecological health by invasive species removal. Dan and I have had meetings with our Parks and Recreation staff, our Parks, Recreation, and Facilities Director, Richard Blankenship, and Lisa Phillips, who's our Recreation Coordinator. And we've discussed the possibility of setting a date for the next Great Air Potato Roundup, that they are comfortable with moving forward with hosting another event. And we're looking to have a date planned for, we're aiming for next February for the actual event, but we're hoping to have that date solidified by October. And any additional input?
I can make an infographic on that too.
Fantastic, thank you.
Anything else for sustainable, Sebastian?
Yes, I do have one for a few others for each of the upcoming, the other goals. So for recommendations for city policies and codes and ordinances, as you know, at the last meeting, we had a presentation by Karen Miller, who's our city engineer and our special projects director, If there is any other IPM-related information that the board is interested in, please let me know so we can make sure to disseminate that information to you. Regarding predictive analytics and artificial intelligence, Charles, as our champion, is currently working to doing some research to find the prospective models that could be used for a city application. Any input from Charles?
Not a lot of it, but it's mostly just the program that we're going to pick, and if we're going to do a deep model or just a basic model. And when the time comes, I can present everything, and we can make it as easy or as in-depth as we like. And I think it's with everything that we have with the IPM and everything else that goes along with the information that we gather, all of that is training data for the predictive model. We can act. Hey, we're going to spray this material on this type of day. What could we expect? And once you got the training data in there, it's there. It'll be, and we can interface with other cities as well. So it's mostly a matter of just picking the program and the type of model that you want, and it's just a matter of money from there on out.
Thank you, Charles. And for goal 12, for incorporating the needs of the community into the city sustainability efforts, that's in regards to the poll. As of our last meeting, the board has kind of voted to move forward with the questions with one last minor tweak, and staff is going to move forward with creating the versions that can be distributed to the public. Any additional updates?
And just so everybody knows, we met and started an outline of the next steps to implement and to meet that goal. And I don't think I've heard anything back since you and I discussed it. And but we've moved that forward. We've laid out some steps to achieve the two goals regarding the poll.
And if anyone is interested in that perspective timeline and how we are intending to move forward, please let me know, and I'd be happy to share that with you as well. All right, for goal 4, as part of as part of increasing equity-wide sorry for getting tongue-tied, for increasing equity citywide and improving the city's overall resiliency by addressing food insecurity issues. Again, Dan and I met with Parks and Recreation and Facilities Director and Lisa Phillips, the Recreation Coordinator, to discuss the potential for possible food waste reduction partnerships. It was just very preliminary concepts, trying to get a feel for the path to move forward. One of the things that we are going to do to move forward is to start looking into what areas of town are in most need of addressing food insecurity issues. And one possible method of doing so is by taking a look at free and reduced lunches through the schools. So we will be doing some investigation on that to see if there are any particular, say, elementary schools or the middle schools, any of the schools in town that are showing higher signs of the quote-unquote Alice population, or anybody who's at or below the poverty line.
Yeah, and on that too, there was we had a short-term and a long-term vision, and that was our short-term vision, because bringing in finding a location, whether it be the schools and stuff, but then we also, for the long-term vision, because of the food box that's on US 1 and stuff, that at the time, we were talking and thinking like that box gets used quite a bit, and so we wanted a permanent location. And then we were talking about I had mentioned Eagle Scout projects and stuff, looking for a location. We just preliminary started talking with the parks director and stuff, and so I hope to go out with him and look around at some of the facilities that are available. And we're going to meet again.
And just to kind of elaborate on the short-term vision, one of the ways of tackling that, the shorter-term time frame, is the possibility of hosting a food distribution event in partnership with a potential partner, such as the Treasure Coast Community. The Treasure Coast Food Bank. They may be a good partner for short-term options for making sure that there is, we're addressing food insecurity issues prior to the possibility of having a long-standing site within our jurisdiction or on city property that we could consistently make sure that we're reducing food waste in the community, but also providing food to those who need it. And as a potential part of educational opportunities at 15D, we are expecting another presentation for the August meeting for the Natural Resources Board, so please stay tuned for that. Staff is coordinating with an organization that may be able to present for us. For protecting and restoring water quality and the sub-goal, Goal 18 for educational signage at city parks and stormwater features, Dan and I have spoken with, and all in that same meeting with our Parks and Recreation Director and Recreation Coordinator, we kind of determined that the Garden Club Park, because of the most recent planting and native landscaping projects that have been done, that is the ideal location for starting off with making sure that there is educational signage at those parks. And then we'll move forward and start identifying other locations that need proper educational updates. And for goal 6, initiative 6 for the city's overall livability, goal 20, increasing the awareness of our local ecology and its relationship to our way of life. Mr. Matt Krause is tasked with the assignment of choosing the first species for us to focus on as far as our education and outreach goes. And once we have that species selected, we'll start unraveling options for posting on social media, providing in-person educational opportunities and things of that nature. He's also provided me with concepts for noise pollution and for light pollution that staff is going to tweak, and we will work on getting pages set up on our city website to provide further education to the public. Would you like to add anything to that?
I just want to mention lighting, for example, as I was listening to the presentation, and if you remember what they were showing, one of the drawbacks or the issues that they encountered was lighting. And so, I mean, it's a newer kind of concept, or it's a newer kind of concern, but it is there, and it does affect wildlife and human beings, etc. So I was going to thank you for that, but I guess I did it anyhow. Thank you.
Can I comment on that?
Go ahead, Charles.
Thank you, Tom. There was we're talking about outreach for natural resources in general, and there's been some controversy on a lot that's been cleared, but it isn't within city limits, and it's in Sebastian, but not in city limits. But it is very substantial. A lot was cleared, and every agency out there is involved with it. And I was wondering if we could do outreach as a board to this particular builder and property, even though it's not in the city limits.
That's something that I would have to discuss with my director, and I can get back to you that. If you can provide me with the details of what you're specifically referring to and the ways in which you would suggest that we conduct outreach, then I can provide that to Alex and we can discuss that with you.
Could I try to get it now while we're here?
Charles, you're breaking up, Charles. We're only getting every other word.
Oh, can you hear me now? Go ahead and give me the address now.
You're still breaking up.
Okay, all right. I'll send it in.
Thank you. All right. And for goal 21, for assisting in planning community presentation and workshops for guest speakers, Donna and I have met with the Solid Waste Disposal District on a potential workshop that we're aiming to have in the fall regarding recycling, and we are also working on some other outreach possibilities for recycling leading up to this workshop as kind of like a teaser for this event. So we're very excited for that. Any input that you'd like to add on that as part of the update, Donna?
I just wanted to say that it was a good collaborative meeting. We met with the Chamber of Commerce, we met with Waste Management, we went with the Southwest Waste District people. They have a lot of resources that I think we should be able to share on our website, and we're pursuing that now. And I think that that amount of information will be very helpful for the community at large. So.
Awesome.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay. Does anybody else have any input for Sustainable Sebastian? I know, actually, Mr. Trinkle, I know you had something that you'd like to mention to the board regarding landscaping, if you want to touch on that.
If I can I do it from here?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I don't know, I saw him go down there one day. I gave you all a handout today that just is a kind of a reference to this short thing that I'm going to do here. But I'm proposing expanding our ecological toolkit with a strategic addition of native and non-native plants for pollinators, monarch butterflies, and public health benefits. As we continue our efforts to protect and restore our local ecosystems, I strongly affirm our commitment to promoting native plants essential for biodiversity, stormwater filtration, and wildlife support. Today, I propose expanding our scope just slightly by integrating 3 key plants into our outreach and ecological strategies. One of them is actually native, but it's not talked about enough. The first one is African blue basil, which most people have never heard of, but it's actually a hybrid plant that is a combination of African, anyway, it's 2 plants that were accidentally hybrided together, and what it's turned into is a plant which is probably one of the best bee and pollinator magnets on Earth. It's a beautiful plant. It's a constant bloomer. It flowers almost year-round in South Florida with no need to cut the flowers for continued growth or vigor. The bees and other pollinators are on this plant from sunup to sundown every single day. It's sterile, so it produces no seeds. It's easily propagated by root cuttings in water very quickly, so you can grow as many as you want. It can be pruned, and when it's pruned, it puts off this really nice camphor sort of aroma. It produces a camphor, I should say, smelling scent. Dozens of these plants could be planted in pollinator corridors, school gardens, city-maintained medians, as well as in home yards and gardens. They not only provide food for bees, but become an educational tool for all ages. The next plant that I want to talk about is milkweed and addressing the monarch butterfly crisis. I want to bring fierce attention to the damage being caused by tropical milkweed, Asclepias curassavica, which is sold in most of the big box stores and nurseries around here. It's unfortunately widely available and sold almost exclusively in most of the nurseries and big box stores in the area. While well-intentioned, gardeners plant it to help monarchs, but tropical milkweeds are severely damaging the monarchs. Here's what's happening. Tropical milkweed interrupts migration. It doesn't die back in winter, and is seriously disrupting the monarchs' needed migratory signals, which giving them year-round home to have a local food supply so they don't go on their migration. But more importantly is the spread of the OE parasite, and I'm not going to try to try to say that word that actually is in Latin. I'm not going to do that, but it's the OE parasite. The persistent presence of this tropical milkweed increases OE infection, which weakens and kills butterflies and can be spread by the monarchs themselves if they're infected. This is an extremely serious threat to their population and have already caused significant reduction in the monarchs' numbers. I've personally gone to a number of our local stores and nurseries, and tropical milkweed is most often the only type offered for sale anywhere in the area here. When asked why, I've been told by uninformed employees, it's not a problem if you cut it back at the end of the season. Well, that doesn't work because when it comes back, it still has the OE spores in it. And that's a big problem. The other excuse is they say that it's the only kind of milkweed that they can get from their suppliers. By cutting it back, like I said, it doesn't eliminate the OE spores, and we should not be normalizing a harmful non-native species when viable native alternatives exist, including Asclepias incarnata, which is called swamp milkweed, and Asclepias tuberosa, which is butterfly weed, and are native to Florida and very, very healthy for the monarchs. I've raised 50 butterflies so far in the last month and a half on those two, and it's fantastic, and released them. They are critical hosts for monarch butterflies. They're completely safe from OE risk due to normal dieback cycles at the end of the season. They're gorgeous, hardy, and vital to our region's ecological balance. If none of you have seen those, you're looking at the pictures of them right now. I propose that we begin developing an educational outreach program for both local garden centers and the public, as well as signage, fact sheets, and workshops to highly discourage the use of tropical milkweed in our region. We can turn this around, but education and possibly even statutes or ordinance banning tropical milkweed may have to be considered if the use of tropical milkweed continues. Finally, I want to introduce the world's most remarkable plant to our community, the tree of life for public health with the potential health, nutritional, and environmental benefits, Moringa oleifera, the miracle tree. Though not originally native to Florida, Moringa thrives in our sandy soils and the tropical climate with minimal care. Its potential is enormous. Leaves contain complete protein, multiple vitamins, calcium, potassium, antioxidants, and much more. The tree is used in malnutrition prevention, herbal medicine, and water purification globally. It can be grown in pots or in the ground and cut back to bush form to fit any garden. This plant deserves a place in our community gardens, educational gardens, and outreach programs, especially those focused on food security, sustainability, and cultural gardening. I've listed a comprehensive list of these incredible benefits in the handouts that you all have in front of you. In closing, I respectfully ask the board to consider including African blue basil in city-managed pollinator initiatives, supporting the campaign to educate nurseries and the public on native milkweed versus tropical milkweed, while encouraging retailers to stock Asclepias incarnata and tuberosa and stop selling tropical milkweed. And finally, promoting moringa as a food, health, medicinal, climate-resilient, and soil-improving tree is a great option for meeting city ordinance tree requirements in residential properties, as well as planning in selected educational and public planning sites. So I thank you for listening, and I hope you'll all take these suggestions to heart.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the board?
I understand that Frank's asking for some type of motion, I think. I think we need to digest this a little bit more.
I'm not asking for a motion. I just wanted to put that out because it's something that I think is important, that there are some alternatives to some of the natives, and especially when it comes to monarchs, I think that's something that we should be really taking some action on, because it's really bad that all the stores in town and all the nurseries, the only thing they have is tropical milkweed.
Right. And I think part of the issue here is that you have to go to the main headquarters to be able to stop this. It's not our local stores that are in charge of this.
No, Home Depot and Lowe's and some of those are like.
So in that case, we might be able to start a petition or something that, with the educational part of it, and send it to their headquarters, but we can't actually stop them from selling something.
Well, it'd be included in an ordinance that that species of milkweed is a invasive species, then it can't be planted in the city of Sebastian.
Well, I was going to put that in there, but I didn't want to go that
Well,
far.
I think that's the way to go with it. You know, I think it deserves further discussion if we want to add it to the next agenda.
I wholeheartedly agree with this list. I have all of this in my garden, especially the milkweed. I definitely agree that there needs to be more education about this. And one caveat with the moringa, it grows almost too well. It grows so fast that it does take more trimming. So if it does get put in any of our parks, that's something to keep in mind. It is pretty low maintenance, but it does grow fast. And anyone who's not physically able to have this in their garden, that's just something to note. But it does have a lot of great benefits. And yeah, so I thank you for providing this. Good
None of these
info.
plants are available locally.
I can't say that because I have to recuse myself. I have a nursery, but I'm not trying to sell them. But no, they are available. They're especially, I can say moringa is available across the street or over here. I mean, they're there. But yeah, once you can get them, because it can be grown from seed, you can actually get seed on Amazon, and if you sprout it, you can do it yourself. And they grow very fast, as she said. You know, and they can be cut back. I mean, literally, if you have a tree that's 20 feet tall, you can cut it down to 6 inches above the ground, and it's going to come right back and provide the leaves or the leaves, the drumsticks, the seeds, even the roots can be made into a type of horseradish. It is an incredible tree, and it's eliminating malnutrition all over the world. They've discovered how intense the benefits of what this tree has in it just naturally. It's incredible.
And just another note on the milkweed, we can always start with local nurseries. We can start there.
The big problem with native milkweed, tuberosa and incarnata, is that they have to be stratified, which means that if you have seeds and you're going to grow them from seed, they basically have to be put into refrigeration for at least a month before you actually plant them in the ground, which may be one of the reasons that a lot of places don't want to do them, because they've got to go through that process to actually bring the plants into seedlings, you know, so. But once they grow, you know, the incarnata, for example, my caterpillars, they've completely stripped a plant of leaves, and I just put it back outside and it grows right back. That's like moringa, it comes back, and it can get pretty high. But you'd be surprised if you haven't raised monarchs, you can't imagine how much they eat in a single day.
I do also want to note that this was the OE and the tropical milkweed was a big point of interest for Sharda Billman as well when she was on the board. This is something that she started to promote, and we started developing and finding other outreach materials that we could use. So we do have some things on file that we can continue to disseminate to the public, and it may be worth exploring even further what ways we can continue to provide awareness to the public about tropical milkweed and make sure that people understand that it does unfortunately contribute to the spread of OE, and if there are ways that we can plant more native milkweed species or species that don't contribute to the OE spread, then that is the ticket.
Would you be able to share some of the outreach materials with me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Felicia, are we ready to move on to new business?
Yes, unless there's something else from the board.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on, new business, item A1, Touch and Tour, Saturday, September 13th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Felicia?
Alrighty, so there are a few events coming up, as you will see, that are potential opportunities. The Parks, Recreation, and Facilities Department has invited the Natural Resources Board to the next upcoming Touch and Tour event. Last year was the first Touch and Tour event during our city's centennial year. And so the board has been invited back again this year. The event is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday, September the 13th. This is essentially a touch a truck event in which there will be all sorts of vehicles, such as a dump truck, vacuum truck, an excavator, a sidearm, a bucket truck, and a fire truck, and then some police department SWAT vehicles that will be present. They'll be placed out into the parking lot, and there will be booths that will be set up kind of how we were last year with, there'll be a few food vendors and some city booths and some other partner organizations that will be here tabling. There will also be some other events such as a canine demonstration from the police department, tours of the police department. City Hall will also be open. The historical building, the old school building, will be open for tours as well. The Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program will also have their staff on site to discuss their operations. The Arts Center and the Senior Center will also have open houses that day. And if the board is interested in participating during this event, that is something that we'd like to consider and get a vote on this evening. Now, also, it is important to be aware that as you're considering this, we are going to be discussing 2 potential other events coming up, and that there may be other invitations forthcoming at later meetings.
What would be our participation?
So mainly it would be a few board members tabling throughout the event, providing information, talking to the public about what the board does, what your roles are as natural resources board members, and, you know, on occasion, you know, answering questions. If people are interested in a particular topic, especially if it's one that you're championing, that's an opportunity to have you know, positive discussion and provide some education and awareness. There is also the option of having some sort of activity on site for the event. Now, for Sebastian Kids Fest, that is really a necessity. When we will talk about that when we get to that point on the agenda. But sometimes, you know, or at least the way it was last year, especially because it was the first touch and tour event, it was mostly just, you know, talking, interfacing with the public. And if there are any ideas for better ways to do that, or particular types of outreach that we'd like to have at the table that day, that's something that, you know, we can certainly discuss.
Did we attend this last year?
Yes. Yeah, and it was a relatively, you know, short event. It's not a long event, but there was a relatively decent turnout, and I remember us speaking to quite a few people that day.
I have to say that I thought that the attendance was absolutely better than things that we've done down at the Bark because of all the trucks. The families came and they brought their kids, so it's an excellent opportunity.
Felicia, do we need a vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. So all those in favor of attending the Touch and Tour on Saturday, September 13th, please say aye.
Aye.
Well, first,
Aye.
well, let's do it this way. Can I have someone recommend that we do this first, vote on this?
I make a motion that we participate in the Touch and Tour on September 13th.
And do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Mr. Tringle, did you second it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Felicia, moving on to the International Coastal Cleanup.
Yes, thank you. So thanks to our friends at Coastal Connections, the International Coastal Cleanup will be held on September 20th, 2025. Coastal Connections will be hosting multiple organizations and partners throughout the county. And this year, we have the option of participating once again. I think the board's first full participation in the event was last year. We hosted the Main Street Boat Ramp location similarly to our Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup location. The event is run a little bit differently from the Treasure Coast Waterway cleanup, but it is still a relatively short time frame. The event itself runs from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the 20th, and there are 2 locations within our jurisdiction, which would be Riverview Park and the Main Street Boat Ramp. Again, if the board is interested in a particular location, now is the time to discuss, but that is something that we can consider. But if the board does want to participate in hosting the event, hosting a site this year for the event, then I'd like the board to take a vote at this time.
Anybody have a discussion?
Can I have just a quick discussion? And I don't want to focus on any of these, but I do want to focus on sort of a more global perspective. And that is that we're all volunteers here. And, there's 12,000 things that demand our time, our energy, our resources, et cetera. And as I understood you to mention earlier that we had a resignation, and I want to be careful that we don't burn people out on saying, well, there's 52 weeks in a year, and the Natural Resources Board has agreed to participate in, 17 of them. I mean, I don't know what the big picture is, but I do want to be a little cautious about overextending ourselves or making, to try to participate and to help in all of these. And I'm very concerned when people resign, why they resign. And I don't know what the purpose, why individual resigned, but I want to be careful we're not burning people out, and they participate and they volunteer and they feel good about that, and they're willing to do it. I just want to be a little cautious as to how many weeks a year we're booking items for the Natural Resources Board, and making sure we're not overextending ourselves. That's all. I don't need a discussion tonight. I just wanted to mention that, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your point is well taken and appreciated. Anybody else? Moving on, does anybody want to make a motion for attendance of the International Coastal Cleanup at Main Street Dock?
I will make a motion to attend the International Coastal Cleanup
I-
on September 20th.
Can I get a second?
I'll second
Can I have a second? All in favor?
that.
Aye. Aye. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Okay, 5 ayes. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 3, Sebastian Kids Fest.
All right, so Sebastian Kids Fest is another one that is held by the Parks, Recreation, and Facilities Department. That one is going to be on October 4th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The board has been invited, as this is going to be an educational but fun-focused day for families. They're looking to have games, and there's going to be a sidewalk chalk contest, face painters, and inflatable bounce houses of that kind of things of that nature. Where the board would come in is having some sort of educational activity. At my meeting with Dan and the Parks and Recreations Department, we discussed that it could be something on the invasive species side, maybe educating kids about plants of that nature. But that is something that could be up for discussion should the board choose to participate in this event. So if there's any further questions, I can address.
Anybody have any questions?
I would just make a point that I love working with kids. And when you have kids, you have a chance to really educate them before they get completely biased against, anything else. So I'd love to support any kind of Kids Fest.
Okay, do we have a motion to attend?
I was just going to add to that, because I think
ahead.
when Felicia and I were talking with the parks, this is a good opportunity because we have our air potato roundup going into February and stuff. And this event, when they presented it and stuff, is like, oh, this is all families. I know a lot of people came to the air potato roundup. It was a lot of adults though. During my shift that came in, there's a few kids. But if, you know, we show a presence in this, I think, and then we're discussing about the air potato or pepper plants and stuff like that, this may bring some more people going forward down the road to different other events.
I just want to point out, as Matt did very well, that this would be the third event in 4 weeks. So.
Right, and that was kind of why when we started this discussion, I wanted to press the point that there are 3 upcoming opportunities, and the time frame is relatively short, and this does not necessarily include anything else that the board could potentially be invited to, and does not consider any of the other regularly occurring events that will be coming later in the fall. So that is something important to keep in mind. It is a really wonderful educational opportunity, as are each of the 2 opportunities that we've previously discussed already tonight.
Okay, do I have a motion to attend?
I'd like to put a motion out to attend the Sebastian Kids Fest on Saturday, October 4th.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay? Can I have some not voters?
I won't be here, so I can't.
There's no such thing as abstaining, as I was told once before, so you must vote.
Then I'll have to, since I brought up the subject a little bit earlier, I guess I'm going to have to oppose it. And again, not from the perspective of is it a good event, or, you know, is it an opportunity to educate people, et cetera. I mean, it'd be interesting for me to see a calendar. Here's 12 months. Here's all the activities that we've agreed to attend. And I just want to make sure we don't overextend ourselves. That's all.
Donna?
I'll vote yes.
Okay.
And to your point, Matt, I can actually add these to the running calendar that I have for the Natural Resources Board's activities. And if that's something that the board would like to see at the next meeting, then absolutely, by all means, I will bring that.
Deborah, did you vote? Yes. And it was a yes? It was a yes. So we got 1, 2, 3 yeses, 4 yeses, 5 yeses, 2 nays. Okay. Motion carries.
And can I just ask, since Felicia offered to do that, I wouldn't spend a lot of time on this in the next meeting. I think sometimes visually it's good to see. It may turn out to be, we don't have that many meetings, and I'm, bringing up a subject that doesn't need to be addressed, okay? But I would like to see it on a calendar, and then, thank you, I appreciate it.
And as Felicia was saying, these 2 of these events are not that long, so we wouldn't need full attendance, we could kind of divvy it up between interest, whoever's interested more in whichever event. So just wanted to add that.
What I would like to see for the Sebastian Kids Fest, so we can have an outline of what we're going to do. This way we're not just guessing the day before. So we can come up with some activities ahead of time. If anybody has any ideas, please contact Felicia directly. Because the worst thing to do is show up at something and you have no idea what you're doing. I'm not crawling around in a turtle suit.
And yes, I specifically figured we would avoid the Go for Tortoise Burrow activity for this event and save that for Earth Day. So let's focus on invasive plant species this time around.
I think, yes, having some demonstration plants and other things to show the difference between various things, and talk about maybe some, let the kids plant some seeds, in a whatever, hand them a little thing to show them, have them plant the seeds, take it home, grow some plant of some kind. That's great for kids.
Yeah, seed packets, and the air potato seeds you can find those anywhere, so you could, grab some and they can hold it, they can, you know, get familiar with what it looks like and how to recognize it if they see it on the street.
The only thing about air potato is that we can't transport them legally, and so I don't know how we would bring them here unless they were, happened to be in the conservation area.
Okay, so nay.
So we might have to have some sort of pictures or you maybe have like a little, it might be cute to have some sort of, replica that, you know, we can demonstrate to the kids and say, this is, you know, this is our version of an air potato, and this is why this is not a good thing for our local ecosystems, and, you know, but like you've discussed already, bring me your ideas, let's start talking about it, we'll start brainstorming over the course of the next month, and then at the next meeting, we can kind of start discussing what that activity would look like.
Okay, so we have assignments. Okay, moving on. 10, items for the next agenda and date. The next agenda is going to be Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. Item number 1, Sustainable Sebastian. 2, the Treasure Coast Waterway Cleanup Debriefing, so we'll find out how much trash we collected. And of course, preparation for upcoming events, so if we can have something prepared for all those September, October events, that would be wonderful. And as I said, anybody who has ideas, please send them to Felicia so she can present them to the board. Any other questions? With that, we may have a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.